Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 134. And today's episode is Your Sensitivity is Not Fragility, it's your superpower. So I am really so happy to be discussing this here. I don't know, maybe I've done another episode on sensitivity. I know it's something I often talk about, but I know I haven't done like one episode specifically in this way. What I'm going to talk about today is just, I think it's really powerful. And I want you to really open your heart, open your mind to receive this teaching. So if you're new to my work, my name is Lisa Espinosa. I'm a spiritual career coach, and I focus on coaching wellness professionals, helpers, healers, guides, but not just that, just really anybody who's a helper. In fact, recently a client was asking me because I have several clients who are considering transitioning careers, and they might not move into a traditional helper career. They are exploring other avenues. But whatever it is they do, I know that wherever they end up landing, wherever their soul guides them, they are heart-led visionaries, change makers, helpers. So don't get too attached to what career or job you hold, or perhaps you're in between or semi-retired, but really my coaching, the teachings I offer, this podcast is for all of you who know that you are here to make a difference in the world. And so what I'm going to talk about today is one of the really big misunderstandings, really, that the world has, but I want to specifically direct it to you, the helpers. Okay. And so I have my notes here because when I do my podcast, it's like a different, I do a lot of Instagram lives, and that's a different offer, right? That's like more spontaneous, and it's kind of like, okay, I'm inspired. It's like hot off the press, right? It's like my first iteration of a thought or download, or maybe, yeah, that's how that is. And I love that format. And the podcast, I really take time to create an outline, really plan it, really connect with my soul, also look at all of my experience in the last 15 years coaching my clients to really understand, okay, what is important about this? So sensitivity, I think all of my clients and so many of my students are very, very sensitive. I am a highly sensitive person. I remember when I first heard that term years ago, and I read the book, I think it's called The Highly Sensitive Person, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is me. And it was probably, that's over 10 years ago, the first time that I started to think about my sensitivity as perhaps being a gift, not a limitation or something that made me weaker. But it's taken a long time to really accept, how could sensitivity not be something that makes my life harder, right? And of course, the clients that are drawn to my work are also very sensitive. But this is what I want you to understand. Helpers are designed to be sensitive. Yes, the sensitivity is different. My sensitivity is different than your sensitivity, but it's not a design flaw. It's not a mistake. It's not a liability, right? It's how you were designed. And why is that? Take a moment to think about the state of the world, the state of humanity. And I don't mean this to be this very apocalyptic message or anything like that. But you can look at the news, look at the world, and see how much pain, war, suffering, all of the things that are going on. There's a lot of imbalances, right? There's a lot of suffering and pain. And so, of course, as a helper, as someone that has a mission to uplift, to bring about transformation, to anchor in new energies, to come up with creative solutions, to inspire, to impact, of course you would need to be sensitive, because your sensitivity is, I think of it like divine antenna. It's your divine technology, right? It's like this divine antenna that can, like, oh, here's an imbalance. Oh, here's a a pain in the world. Oh, here's where they're suffering. And it's not meant to be so you could get overwhelmed, but it's meant to be so that you can really get a very deep picture, clear picture of understanding of what the problem is, so that the divine solution that is meant to flow through you can come through, right? And so, first and foremost, that's very important for you to understand. If you take nothing else from this episode, to really start to take in that, oh, my sensitivity is divine technology, it's a divine antenna, it's not an accident, it's not a design flaw, it's how I was created. It's part of the toolkit of a helper. And so what does your sensitivity allow you to do? It allows you to create, right? To design creative solutions, right? So in my, now 15 years that I've been doing this work, there's been different iterations of my coaching programs, right? Of my teachings. And my deep sensitivity has really helped me to understand what are the thought errors, the beliefs that helpers carry, right? What is the way that slows them down? What is that way that creates suffering for them? What is holding them back? And when I say them, I mean me also, right? Like all of that deep sensitivity, it's like, it's like you think of it as like a laser, right? Like this, or magnifying glass, or like the most amazing x-ray machine that can like look and really tune in. Now, again, I said everybody's sensitivity is different, right? So you might be sensitive in a different way. I'm very sensitive emotionally, right? Like emotional healing and transformation and power, and how that's connected to our thoughts and the results we get. That's one of my deep sensitivities, right? So what is your sensitivity for? To create divine solutions, creative solutions. It's also to bring about harmony, to restore harmony, because as a sensitive person, again, you're attuned to the imbalances, whether that's in a one-on-one interaction, in families, in humanity, right? There's this way that you can perceive that is different than the norm. And this isn't about saying we're better than or anything like that. It's just accepting, oh, this is a divine assignment that we signed up for, because this is what brings us the greatest joy and fulfillment. And again, part of my tool is to be very sensitive. And it's also a way with your sensitivity for helpers is to really be able to discern the most aligned action steps, right? To be able to discern when action is required, when stillness is required, right? And it's like, that's when we've really stepped into our power, which is what I coach my clients to, right? Like leaving that martyr identity mentality, right? And stepping into the sovereign helper. When you really embrace that, that's what your sensitivity is for. And that's how you start to understand that, oh, it's a divine instrument. Now, however, what the problem becomes is that a lot of times we have mislabeled sensitivity as fragile, and this is as fragility. And this happens for many reasons, right? You might have been teased for being sensitive, or judged for being sensitive, or worse, abused or hurt for your sensitivity, right? And a lot of times the world is not set up to really understand the gift that sensitivity is. So there can be, and this is what this podcast episode is truly about, is that there can be this misunderstanding. You might very much identify, yes, I am a highly sensitive person, or I'm a very sensitive person. And consciously or unconsciously, you might equate that as meaning I'm fragile, I'm weak, I'm extra vulnerable. I must protect myself because I'm so sensitive. And so I was really thinking about that. I'm like, why is that? And I looked up the definition of fragility. I'm like, what does fragility actually, how does the dictionary define it? And I loved this definition because I think this is really going to clarify things for you. The definition was the state of being easily broken or destroyed. All right, really take that in. Again, the definition of fragility is the state of being easily broken or destroyed. And so when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, because what did I think about? I thought about all my clients that I have, my current clients, the clients I've coached and taught in the last 15 years. And even before that, when I was a middle school teacher in Chicago teaching teenagers, I could think of them like all of my career as a helper, which has been professionally over 25 years. And I thought to myself, my clients and students are some of the strongest people I know. The strongest, the most resilient. They have gone through so much. They have overcome so much hardship. And I'm talking to you as well. Even if you're not my client, if you're drawn to this, think about how much you have overcome, how many challenges, how many transformative experiences, how and and the thing is, like, not only that, like how much you've overcome or you're still working through, and you keep showing up, you keep coming back to to heal more deeply, right? Because make no mistake, the healing journey, to be committed to your own healing journey, is one of the most courageous things you can do. It is not selfish. It's much easier to not look inside and to just be like, nope, I'm not going to look inside. I'm just going to look outside and judge people as good or bad or all the things. But to actually hold a mirror up and look inside and look at what are the imbalances in me, what are the wounds in me. Like when you know that, and my clients do that so deeply because they know that when they do that, they're more available to help others. That requires so much strength. And how many dark nights of the soul, if you heard that expression, a dark night of the soul, and it's not even, I never understood that expression because it's never one night. It's usually a lot of them, right? If you've gone through just hard phases in your life, right? It's been so challenging, whether it's been a diagnosis of a loved one, the loss of a loved one, the end of a career, starting a new career, putting yourself out there, whatever you have gone through. Because as a helper, you have had a divine curriculum. Your life has been the training. There have been challenges that were designed for you to experience because that's what molds you into the helper that you are. So when I was looking at that and I thought, oh my gosh, yeah, my clients, my students, you are some of the strongest, most powerful, most resilient, most committed, most devoted, most honestly hopeful and optimistic. Even if in this moment you're like, I don't feel hopeful, I don't feel optimistic, because I understand that. There's plenty of times where I'm like, but I never stay there. Even if there's moments where I might feel really down or feel really, I'm human, right? Feel those things. I don't ever stay there. I always rise up above that and come back to love and commitment and devotion and focusing on my mission and increasing my capacity and all of those things. So if you then look at the definition of fragility as easily broken or destroyed, then you must understand that you are the least fragile person, actually. And what's so interesting is that some of those people who proclaim to be the toughest and most confident and most whatever are some of the most fragile people. This is what happens in the world, that there's a lot of inversion, a lot of upside down thinking. So think about whether it's someone you know personally or someone in the public sphere, on the news, whomever, that proclaims to be very strong, but they cannot take any criticism. Right? It's like any criticism, any reflection on behavior or what they could do better, it's like, nope, they can't take it in. And it must always be pointing fingers and blaming others. That is a fragile state. And so again, I say that not to judge anyone, but for you to start to understand, oh wait, I am not fragile. Because when I read that, it kind of took my understanding of myself even more deeply, because I was like, I'm not easily broken or destroyed. Yes, I'm highly, highly sensitive for sure. But I have gone through so much and I'm still here. Not only am I still here, I'm still here in service. I'm still here helping. I'm still here trying to, really fulfill my purpose and know the extent of my capacity to love, to serve, to help, to create. And so this is really important, because when you think you're fragile, even if you don't use that word, but if it's anything like, oh, my sensitivity is weakness, my sensitivity makes me vulnerable, I should toughen up, life is so hard for me because I'm so sensitive, or when you have any of that in your mind, you're equating yourself with being fragile, and that erodes your confidence and power. It really does. It feeds that martyr helper identity. Because that martyr, I know I've talked a lot about the martyr helper identity as the identity that leads us to self-sacrifice, overextend, people please, go into codependency. That's all true. But the other aspect of the martyr identity is that it keeps us in insecurity. It feeds this feeling that we don't know enough, we don't have enough, we're not experts, right? I did that masterclass a few months ago about embracing your expertise energy. And so it's very important for you to reclaim the power of your sensitivity and to absolutely know that you are not a fragile person. To understand that you are not easily broken or destroyed. And your sensitivity, again, it's that divine instrument, it's your divine antenna, right? It's this, it's not emotional instability. Now, when I coach my clients, I take them through my sovereignty helper framework, right? And we do look at how do we become emotionally resilient and powerful, and how do you step more into embodying your sovereign helper identity? So I understand, right? I understand that, especially because often as helpers, we've experienced a lot of trauma and judgment from others, that it has often turned our sensitivity against us. But that stops now, right? So with this podcast episode, what I really want you to take away is to understand, wait, my sensitivity is my superpower. It is my divine instrument, my divine antenna for what? To bring about creative solutions, to solve problems, yours, your clients, your students, to point to divine solutions. It's divine antenna that helps me understand the imbalances. It's like I have my animal cards here in front of me, so I just had an image of a frog. If you connect with animals in any way, I really do believe animals bring medicine to us, right? Each animal brings a different medicine, a different gift. And frogs are very, very sensitive. They're like extremely sensitive, right? They literally almost breathe through their skin. And one of the way that scientists kind of measure the health of an environment, it's by the frogs. How many frogs are in the pond or in the forest or whatever? And so why? Because they're attuned to that. So in a way, we're like frogs, right? It's like that you can tune into imbalances before probably anybody else can. I mean, think about the power of that. Yes, I understand, believe me, how it can feel challenging. I mean, I don't eat gluten, I can't have dairy, I don't drink coffee because I'm too sensitive to caffeine. I mean, trust me, I understand that there's challenges with this. Right? I know that sometimes it's easy to forget that it's a gift when you're, like I was just thinking about travel. and how I love the result of travel. Like I love exploring new places. I love that. But the actual act of traveling, the actual like going to an airport, going through security, all of the things is a lot for my sensitive system, right? From all on all levels, right? The lights, the sounds, the food, figuring out the food that I'll be able to eat, all of that. And so it could be easy for me to say, oh, I'm just too fragile to travel. I just have to not travel. I'm just going to cut back on travel. I'm just going to stay home because I'm too fragile. I'm too vulnerable. And that would really hold me back because I love travel and I want to visit people I love and explore new places. And it's also diminishing the power I have in my sensitivity. So it's like looking at it differently. Yes, I'm a very sensitive person. So when I go in the airport, there's just things I have to prepare ahead of time, right? I have my preparations that I do to be there, but to also recognize that that is increasing my capacity to be able to use my sensitivity for good, not just for me, but for the world, right? So to be in an airport and observe people passing by and be guided on, I don't know whether it's I'm guided to just send love and blessings, or there's always gifts in those situations as well. That's just like a minor example, but I want to just really help you understand because I I've said this before. I really know in my heart that the Divine Mother, right, the female face of God, the universe spirit, she is the true coach, guide of the helpers. And as one of her midwives, one of her, worker bees for the Divine Mother, I know that part of my purpose is to help the helpers rise up. That's why this podcast is called Rise Up and Share Your Medicine. And so I've really this year have been so committed to understanding, well, what prevents helpers from rising up? And some of it is this feeling, well, I'm too sensitive to rise up. The world is too harsh for me to rise up. I must, I can't rise up. When in truth, your type of leadership and help is literally what the world needs. And I'm not suggesting self-sacrifice. I'm not suggesting that you put yourself in harm's way in any way. That's not what I'm saying. But I am inviting you to reclaim the power of your sensitivity and to dissolve any thoughts in your head that are judging it, that consider it a liability, or that you're in any way a fragile person. Remember what the definition of fragile is: easily broken or destroyed. You are the opposite of that. When I look at my clients and students and everything that they've gone through in their lives and how committed they still are to sharing their gifts or finding what their path is, I'm so inspired. Like, they are the least broken, easily broken or destroyed. They're impossible to break or destroy. And that's how I am as well. And again, it doesn't take away the sensitivity that is your gift. So I want to share with you this practice, right? I have it here, 4 steps. Reclaiming your sensitivity as strength. Okay, so the first is you're going to notice, right? Like, notice sorry, I'm just looking at this here. Yeah. Any time, any situation that makes you judge your sensitivity. And for some of you, this might be really subtle. Like you're going to have to really be an observer. Like, any time the thought, I'm too sensitive, slows you down, hinders you in any way, just notice it. And then once you notice it, you're going to reframe it. And I want you to, in that moment, ask yourself, how is this sensitivity actually helping me to heal, to lead others? How is it? I'll give you an example. For me, I am someone who, when I'm grieving, I grieve very deeply. And it's almost like I can't skip the grieving process. Like, I can't compartmentalize. I know a lot of people can, like, kind of push it away and keep going. But again, part of my sensitivity is I just like, I'm so aware of it. And for so long I judged that, right? I was like, why am I so sensitive? Why do I feel everything? Why do I feel everything so deeply? If I'm happy, I'm so happy. But if I feel sad, oh my gosh, I can feel like the saddest in the world ever, right? And so, but as I've embraced this as my power, and I've really embraced like, okay, my ability to grieve is a superpower. My ability to understand it's not a linear process, to let the waves of grief come and just, if I need to cry, cry. If I need to just take a vigorous walk to let it move through my body, let that happen. I mean, I've become like a grieving expert. And I know that might not sound fun, but I've experienced a lot of loss, a lot of endings, a lot of challenges in my life. So this is a skill I've had to really master. And if I were to reframe it, right? If let's say I'm going through this step, and let's say my first step is I notice myself judging, like, oh, why am I still sad about that? I should be done with it. I should be over it. And I notice that, but instead I'm like, okay, let me reframe that. And let me ask myself, how is this actually helping me to be a more impactful helper and leader? And I know for me, the answer is that this helps me support my clients so much more deeply. It helps me support them when they're grieving and to not be scared of grief. That's the beauty of this. As I've become more and more masterful at grieving, I've lost more and more the fear of it. And I realized that so much of the challenge of grieving is the fear of it, the judgment of it. Once we let that go, it's kind of like, oh, it's just like a normal process. And there can actually be, there's so much joy and peace when we allow ourselves to let the grieving process flow. So the fact that I have had to practice this so much helps me be there for my clients in such a deep way, right? That I don't have to like be like, oh, I hope they don't bring anything that's really overwhelming because I can't handle it. No, I'm just like, bring it on. I'm good. I'm here. I'm here for you. I understand. So you're going to do the same thing for you. You're going to notice what sensitivity you're judging, reframe it, and how is this actually helping you be a better leader and helper. And then you're going to declare, my sensitivity is my superpower. I like that statement. If something else works better for you, you can say that my sensitivity is my divine instrument. My sensitivity is my divine antenna, whatever. But the idea is my sensitivity is my superpower. Like really let that anchor into your body and into your cells. And I've given you enough content in this podcast episode for you to really anchor that into evidence. Like I think for me, when I first started thinking about this, I was like, okay, yes, my sensitivity is a gift. It helps me connect with people more. You know, like, but I wasn't really excited about it. I was like, I felt like I was kind of lying to myself. Like I was tricking myself. Like, okay, let me turn this into something positive. But as the years have gone by, as I've developed myself, as I've coached more clients, as I've healed many aspects of myself, I've really understand, oh, it's a superpower. It's not just a nice thing to say, right? And then step 4 is you're going to call in your sovereign helper identity. Like I want you to think of this, the version of you that is already a sovereign helper, already aligned with her soul, taking care of herself as the asset that she is. Understanding that, making sure that she is taken care of, that she eats the right foods, that she surrounds herself with uplifting things, that she is doing her inner work, that is essential, that is her responsibility, because that's how she can serve more people. So I'm encouraging you, and I'll be doing this from now on, to really welcome that aspect. You can think of it as a like you're talking to her, but remember it's you. And connect with her and ask her to bless your sensitivity. Ask her to help you see the blessing that your sensitivity is. So the steps are, you're going to notice, you're going to reframe, you're going to declare, And then you're going to call in your sovereign helper. Those are the 4 steps. And so I want to end this with just reminding you that you're not here to be hardened, to become a tougher helper. No, you are here to be the sovereign helper that you are, to embrace your sensitivity as your superpower, to declare and remind yourself that you are not a fragile person. You are not easily broken or destroyed. I would actually say you're unbreakable. Ultimately, everyone is, of course, because we're all infinite, but you know what I mean in this context. And remember that your legacy of help and impact is really dependent on you accepting who you truly are. And that includes your beautiful sensitivity. And think about it. I want you to imagine all the helpers in the world right now in this moment, whether they're therapists or coaches or teachers, or they are accountants and lawyers, but they're helpers in their heart. They are these helpers. And I want you to imagine all of the ones that are judging themselves right now because they're like, oh, I'm too sensitive. I'm a fragile person. And then I want you to visualize them letting go of that, actually reclaiming and saying, remembering, like waking up, kind of like, wait a minute, my sensitivity is my superpower. I am such a strong and powerful person. Imagine all those helpers suddenly doing that. And then how much more impact they will have in the world because of that. All right. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going to pull an animal card as we end. And just to remind you, I'll be here again next week. If you're not signed up for my newsletter, I encourage you to sign up. I'm sending so many helpful resources. Every Monday, I'm sending my Monday medicine message with like an important teaching. And I also send the audio version of that. And then all my Instagram lives, I share them there. And any classes that are coming up. So yes, thank you, Roxana, for being here and everyone else watching the replay. I know my times have been a little different. I was just taking a morning class on Wednesdays, which is why it's hard to pin down. But this will end in July, and then I'll have like a steady, consistent time Wednesdays, so you can join live if you want to. All right. So, what beautiful animal guide is helping you reclaim your sensitivity as your power? Oh my gosh! Look at this spider. Spider spirit, it says, make your dreams real. And so really think about this. How could you reclaiming your sensitivity as your power help you make your dreams real? Well, first of all, your sensitivity, what's coming to my mind is your sensitivity helps you discern what are your dreams? What are your actual dreams? I think it was the last episode. I think it was episode 133 where I talked about the power of your desires. So you might want to go back to hear that if you missed it, or you might hear it again if you're like, my dreams. But this is like, make your dreams real. As you reclaim your power, your dreams, you're able to weave those dreams into reality. All right, everyone. I will see you next week. Talk to you soon. Bye. Bye, Roxana.